Hello, hello, hello. Happy Thursday. Another week has gone by.
And we're back.
We're back. Tonight, we're talking about contact, steady contact, riding our horses on the bit. Don't forget, come to the Contact and Connection webinar. So I did it last Sunday. I'm doing the Contact and Connection webinar this Sunday,
What time?
12 noon Pacific time.
Okay.
I'm also doing it Wednesday morning, and Thursday night, next Thursday, I'm going to do the webinar. So
Are we not doing this next Thursday?
We're not doing this.
I have a night off?
You have a night off.
All right.
So there's lots of opportunities. I do recommend coming because inside the webinar, I show you my special 4-step process to riding your horse around. Do you know what it is?
No.
He doesn't know the secret. So maybe you'll have to come and watch the Contact and Connection webinar because it's really good. Hi, Hannah. Hi, Molly. Yes, 102 degrees. It was
that at the barn. It's not that really in our house.
Hot
at the
today.
House, it was only 95.
So I went to the barn this morning. I left the house at 5:30?
Yeah.
And I had the best rides on Harvey and Kensington.
That's the best time of the day.
It's the best time of the day. I should do that more often.
It's just the best time of the day.
Yeah. So let us know in the chat if you're a morning person. Both of us definitely are.
Conveniently enough, we are both morning people, which works out really well.
Although you've definitely made me more of a morning person, and now often I get up before you. Alarm goes off 5 a.m. every day. And that's how it works here in this household.
Did you sleep longer before?
I mean, I'd sleep past 5. I'd sleep until 6:30. But it is like the early bird gets the worm. I'm the most productive in the morning. It's like so quiet. It's cool.
It's easy to get things done. There's no people about.
Yeah. So anyways.
Don't have to answer a question.
But it definitely is hot here, which is always hard on the horses, I think, and hard on us. So that's why it's good
to suffer horribly in the heat.
Get up and ride early.
Oh, there's our people. Very morning.
All righty. Awesome. We love the morning people. Let me know if anyone's a night owl. We're literally in bed at 8:30.
Yeah.
And in the winter, it's so bad. It's
I'm terrible.
7:30
the sun
and we're
goes down and I'm like, why would anybody be awake right now?
Yeah. So
it's dark outside. Why would you be awake?
Anyways. Okay. Tonight we're talking about contact, riding your horse on the bit, everything to do with round. That's kind of the theme for the next few weeks because of the webinar and 30 days to round, which I know a lot of people have already signed up for 30 days to round. The content is coming on Sunday. You get all of the content. And before we came on, we were talking about steady contact. What are your tips for establishing steady contact? You all hopefully watched my YouTube video with my tips, but I think yours might be even better.
I think that it's important that when we say steady hands and quiet hands, that image isn't unmoving, unyielding hands, because unyielding hands make stiff necks. And so, I see that a lot, right? Well, and because we all get told, keep your hands still, keep your hands still. So then there's a stiffness that happens because of the image that gets created with still hands. But your hands have to be quiet, elastic, following so that you can supple and keep the horse's neck soft. And so there's a long way around to checking out your image for the words.
Yes. But I do think it's important to remember whenever you're on a horse that you're on a moving object.
You're moving through space with this horse, right? I mean, you're moving.
So if you are still, then you're no longer in harmony with your horse. And there's a bumping, whether it's your seat or your legs or your hands.
You look like a stone skipping across the water.
Not a good look.
Not a good look on a horse.
Some other things about contact is one of my big tips is to shorten your reins. I think that sometimes in our efforts to be soft on our horses, we have our reins way too long.
We throw away the contact.
And then what happens is your hands are all over the place and you need to turn and then you pull back and then slack and then, oh my gosh, over here. And so it should be holding someone's hand and guiding them, that you do want to have a light, steady contact so that you can maneuver your horse and so that you can turn your horse. And
have you heard the one about the baby birds? It's like holding a baby bird in your hand.
And you don't want to kill it.
You don't want to kill it. But sometimes when you make a half halt, that bird's going to die.
Just release it once it's dead. Right. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it is true. Sometimes you have to be stronger.
There's a resistance. It's not so much about pulling back, but you put a boundary to the front of it.
Yeah. And then you have to release and soften. Like you can't stay there. And
that resistance is just for the rebalance, and then self-carriage, you're on your own, pony.
Yeah. And I also think a really important part about establishing a steady contact is your seat. And often if your hands are unsteady or if you're bouncing all over the place, it's because your seat isn't connected. So that's one thing.
That would be the first thing.
Yes.
Is that now you're using your hands to stay on the horse. You're using the reins as handles instead of using your butt to stay in the saddle.
Yeah. And visually, when you see a video of yourself, a lot of times we focus in on our hands because they're like, your hands accentuate everything that's going on. So you're like, oh my gosh, what are my hands doing? Why are they so busy? But if you can use your hands as a symptom, but then look at your seat and make sure that your seat is really connected and following your horse, then a lot of times your hands will improve on their own.
Right, because that independent seat gives you the freedom to follow with the reins.
Okay, so there was a super interesting post. I'm going to see if I can screen share this, but there was a really interesting post in the Facebook group. And, oh my gosh, I'm going to forget the horse's name, but there's this horse from Poland. What's her name? Maxim.
Yeah, whatever. The 8-year-old mare that was just amazing.
Bella Maxima. I think that's her name.
It could be.
Maxima Bella. Anyways, type in the chat if you know who I'm talking about. But so Polish rider, 8-year-old mare. She was at the Olympics, right? And
we saw her in Aachen.
There's a video of her doing the Piaffe Passage without a bridle on the horse, which is like, it's amazing. And someone in the Facebook club wrote in and asked Sarah, actually one of our students, she said, so the horse's nose is like really far out. She's not really like typically what we would consider quote unquote round. And yet she's doing these movements. So why do we need to ride our horses round? So let me see if I can quickly share this video so that you all know what I'm talking about. And it is like, it's quite impressive. I mean, I wish that my horses were piaffing and passaging like this, but you can see on the video how she's quite in front of the vertical, right? Like she's not nearly as round as when we saw this horse at the Olympics or when we saw her in Aachen. And so the question is then why? Like, why do we want our horses to be on the vertical?
Other than your trainer tells you.
And I think, well, you kind of answered it.
Right. She's a little bit longer, so she's got a little bit of a hammock look, right? And
like her withers aren't up.
Her withers just aren't as up as she is when she's in the bridle. And then she's an exceptional horse.
Yeah. Like super talented.
So not every horse is going to be able to do that. It's like not everybody's going to play in the NFL or in hockey, and that mare is exceptional.
Yeah.
And so she can pull it off, but I don't know that every horse can do that.
Yeah. But, I mean, it is important to remember that we're trying to work on, like, we want our horses to be in self-carriage. And that really is an illustration of self-carriage, the fact that she can do that without a bridle. And certainly she's not as round and her withers aren't as up as they are when she's more on the vertical.
And it doesn't have the loft, right? And so, I mean, it's still amazingly good.
Yeah. And I go into, so if you haven't yet, come to the webinar on Sunday or next week. I'm doing it 3 more times because I talk a lot about that. Like, why round? Why do we ride our horses round? Why is it important? What are the biomechanics of that? And also remember that roundness, when done correctly, it comes from the hind end. So it's like the hind end through the back and to the neck. It's not just about pulling their head in and having a pretty arch to their neck, which is really nice. It's about creating a bridge for you to sit on, because that's stronger than if your horse is hollow. It's like a suspension bridge. You know those suspension bridges on the trail when you're like hiking out in the wilderness and you're like, we're going to die. This thing's going to break.
So I think we need to talk to Betsy here.
Oh, steady outside rein versus massaging inside rein?
Because I don't know about versus. I think that's what... because that's what we do. We have a steady elastic outside rein and the massaging inside rein. It's not... they work in conjunction, right? It's not a versus thing. That's how we do it. That they work together.
Yeah. I did a really interesting thing this week. Maybe some of you want to try it out. So I was filming some reels, and what I did is I just had the bit in the reins, and I put the bit around a fence post, and then I held the reins. And then I was practicing shortening my reins and suppling, and it was really interesting because if I threw away one rein, then the bit would like go sliding off the fence post. And it was really cool. I think it would be a really good demo for people to like feel that, to feel the relationship between your left and your right rein, and how when you're suppling your horse, it's just these little movements. It's just gently massaging your horse's jaw to get them round.
Yes.
So.
And that's time in miles.
Yeah. Chris, can you have self-carriage and not be round? Ooh,
well, yes. I mean, the horse is in self-carriage when it's standing in the stall eating. It's not falling down. You need more self-carriage if you want to do a pee-off, and you need more than you do for shoulder in for a half pass.
Yeah.
So it's not a sum total game.
But yeah, so
because hunters are in a self-carriage that's on the forehand, but
they're not collected.
But they're not. So
yeah. So self-carriage, to like refine that a little bit, self-carriage is more about your horse doing it on their own, meaning that you're not holding them in the reins and that you're not squeezing with your legs. Self-carriage is that you can go away and your horse is carrying with their own muscles rather than relying on you. And self-carriage is something that it increases in difficulty as you move up the levels, because a Grand Prix horse...
Right, because we narrow that base of support, right? And so then they're more easily influenced by us. They're also more easily knocked off balance when you lose your balance.
Yeah.
So... so like self-carriage has a particular meaning in dressage that we all just have to come to an agreement that that's what it means.
Okay, so next...
Oh, I did want to say something about...
Okay, go.
No, wait, roll it back, because...
What?
There's a girl that rows, and I'm like, yay for rowing, see? Lori.
Oh, she does rowing.
You row in the morning, which is very impressive. My father was a rower.
Wasn't he like an Olympic rower?
Yeah, world championships. He was quite famous during the 50s. My dad rowing a boat, world records and such. So I've been on a rowboat. I have rowed a boat. Amelia and I went rowing, and she was like, why do you do this so well? And I was like, oh, my dad, he taught me how to row. So yay for the rowers out there. Okay, that was just my shout out to the rowers.
Digression.
Yeah.
All right.
But I saw that she rowed, and I was like, woohoo, rowing.
Okay, so on the topic of contact,
okay,
question for everyone here. Type in the chat how your horse is in the contact. So if your horse is heavy or strong, if your horse is too light, if your horse is fussy, if your horse is uneven, like if your horse leans on the left rein or the right rein. What do you think?
Things happen.
My horses, let's see, Harvey is too light. Harvey just goes like this and sucks his neck back in, and the reins are slack. Kensington is too strong and likes to lean on the right rein. Let's see. Heather's horse is too light. Susie's horse is bracing. Hannah's horse is strong. Chris's horse is light.
I'm going to go with the mare I ride, and she's pretty strong.
Is she?
She always wants to. She won't, because she doesn't engage, right? She
Herman
won't.
got a new 4-year-old in training.
Oh no, I was talking about the horse I'm going to show third level.
Oh, okay.
She doesn't engage. I have a problem with the collection and the engagement. Remember when you came and you helped me and you were like, you should canter much smaller, right? Really shorten that up and have her take more weight behind. And when that happens, then the front end lightens and the contact is good. But on her own, she is like, they've opened the gates at Santa Anita and we're going.
Yeah. My point being is that every horse starts out different in the contact, right? Some of them won't touch the bit. Some of them are like Santa Anita, leaning into the bit. Some of them are like chompy or fussy. Some of them hang on the left rein. And the problem with that is that when your horse isn't right in the contact, they're not engaged in their body. So like Herman said, the reason his horse gets strong because she doesn't want to use her hind end. And so I think it's important to remember that as you're addressing your contact issues, whatever you feel in your hand is a reflection of what's happening in your horse's body. And it's really important that you fix it from back to front. And that's a lot what I talk about in the webinar. And also what I help you understand in 30 Days to Round is how to really get your horse steady in the contact and accepting the contact. And what do you want to feel in your hand? It should be like the weight of a soda can. And then you should be able to make it lighter
and move
or
that,
stronger. Yeah. And bring the neck
and the balance
up
not change. That's the uber strike. And when you release that rein, the horse should still stay on all four legs.
Yeah.
And not feel like, you're on a toboggan on the Matterhorn.
Yeah. So let me know in the chat if you've ever felt it. Like if you've ever felt that moment where your horse is in self-carriage and where your horse is supple and where your horse is soft. And I think the first time that I felt it was my trainer in Colorado. She let me sit on her Grand Prix horse and do a little piaffe passage. And I just remember that feeling. It was the most amazing feeling where you could do the piaffe passage and you could do the transitions and the withers were up and the horse was supple and you could make the neck lower and bring the neck up and make the trot bigger and make the trot smaller and give, and the horse stayed there. It was incredible.
Yep.
Versus sometimes you feel like Popeye and your arms are just getting pulled out of the socket. When was the first time you had that like aha feeling of like, oh, this is it. My horse is round.
I don't know. I can't remember that far back anymore.
Okay, when you had a good feeling in a horse?
The best feeling I ever had was on cue, and there was just moments where you just felt like you could do anything. And before I rode that horse, I had no clue.
Yeah.
And when I got that horse, I had no clue. He taught me.
But he didn't start out that way. You trained him.
Oh my God, I got him for free because he was killing people.
Right, because he was running off.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really important to remember is that your horse can do it. Like your horse can get round. Your horse can be better in the contact. No horse is born being perfect in the contact. I'm yet to ride one. And so they all have their issues, and it's just about training them and helping them understand what to do with their body. And then you get little glimmers of it that are, like Chris said, they're fleeting. You feel a moment of,
and then you're back for 6 months trying to get that feeling again.
Yes.
Yeah, that's horses.
Very sad. So, but anyways, I tell
well, if they gave it to us all at once, then what would be the joy? What would be the?
Yeah.
They only do it a little bit at a time, so you keep coming back.
So I share a bunch of those stories in my webinar over the weekend. But one thing that's so funny, if you were at the webinar and I don't know if you know this, but I was like, okay, I'm going to start like a movement, right? Because I want everyone to feel like they're a part of a movement. And so in the webinar, I asked everyone, are you committed to being a round rider? And I said, type in the chat round rider, right? Because it's like, I want everyone, we're on a mission. We're going to ride our horses round. So type it in the chat right now, round rider. And then Nicole from my team was like, people might think that that's like fat, like that they're like a fat rider and not that they're like trying to ride their horses round. And I was like, oops. So it's an inside joke now.
The round rider. Kind of like the red rider from the horse show.
Yes. But it is like riding your horse round and getting those feelings. It's so amazing. And it's like, it makes it easy, right? It makes it easy for your horse. It makes it easy for you. It also helps your horse to relax and to focus on you when they're given in their body. When they're round like that, it creates a mental shift in them where.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Good. We have a bunch of round riders.
I like being round rider, but now that you mentioned that the other thing about a horse that is round, there's a mental submission. There's a relaxation that happens, right? I mean, if you think about a horse that's, on high alert, looking for the next saber-toothed tiger to come out of the woods, they're up with their necks like that, and they're hollow in the back. They're looking around. And so, and that's John Lyon's point about the endorphins that get released when the horse is in this shape, and then the endorphins that get released when the horse is in this shape. And what does a horse look like that's relaxed? Well, it can eat, it drinks water, it ambles from here to there, and the neck is down.
Yeah.
So there's that part too.
Oh, good. We have lots of round riders. Ryan's a round rider.
We like round
Lori's a round rider.
I'm just gonna
Jane,
not do
Cheryl.
Nicole's worry. I'm just gonna say round rider.
Yeah.
It's all good.
We're on a mission. And here's the thing. If anyone is questioning what it is, then they're not.
Then you can explain it.
They're not on the inside. They don't know the secret joke. I was like, well, it will just have to be an inside joke. Maybe we'll have to get t-shirts.
And we can look like the Tholo pony.
Oh my gosh. Okay. There's a few more questions. Let me see if I found. Jenny says, could I ask for tips to fix bouncy hands when riding a super bouncy horse? I'm trying to have soft shoulders and elbows, but it's so hard to get my hands still in the trot.
I don't know. A lot of the times what I do is I have the rider just reach forward with one hand and pet the withers, just to unlock that arm from the trunk, right? So that where your arm connects to your trunk, you just let that go and you can pet your horse. And that way you don't tell yourself, relax your shoulder. You actually give your arm something to do. And then when you give your arm the pet your horse message order, your arm does that and it separates out from your trunk. And then you can start to feel how that's looser. And then I go back and forth from one arm to the other arm and back and forth until those arms just start loosening up. Okay,
here's another good question. Best tips for diffusing tension in new places or with slightly more demanding work. I notice my horse gets tense or tight in the back and frame. How do I minimize the tension and get suppleness and relaxation back? I don't want to lose the energy, just direct it better.
I always make the world smaller. I go from, whatever, like a 20-meter circle, 30-meter circle, 15-meter circle. Stay on that, have them bend to the inside, leg yield in, out, and little by little, you make that circle bigger until you're using the whole arena. It's just about getting them focused.
Yeah. And bending. I think bending is the keys, and bending is the key to roundness. It's one of the prerequisites to roundness. So when you can get your horse bending left and bending right, then you can get that nice arc. So if I have a horse that all of a sudden they like tense and hollow and they're looking at something, I think about, like Herman said, going on a circle, bending them, yielding them off the inside leg so that you can get access into their rib cage. And then that allows you to soften your horse, because we all know that pulling with both reins,
quite bad that.
It doesn't work.
That'll get me excited when I see it, actually.
Yeah.
I get kind of excited.
And your horse just pulls against you.
And they're stronger.
But if you can bend and yield them, then that helps a lot. Okay, let's see. Barb has a question. What do you do when a horse sees a scary object and stops? You have a loose rein, apply leg, the horse backs up, he's stubborn, we're both frustrated, try again. Is there a more efficient way?
I just turn away from the scary thing and come again, and turn away from the scary thing and come again, and turn away from the scary thing and come again.
And eventually.
Right. I mean, and you may start, whatever, 30 feet away, 20 feet away. And the next time you can get 18 feet, the next time you can get 16 feet, and then you go 17 feet, and then you can go 12 feet. And then a pretty horse, soon the horse goes, oh, alrighty then.
Or I also, which is similar to what Herman's saying, but you want to zigzag towards a scary object.
Yeah.
You don't want to try to push your horse straight towards the scary object because horses don't see very well in front of them.
Yeah, I always come from an angle.
Yeah.
Come up from an angle, come from the other side, and let them see it from every. It was interesting when I was jumping, we would, like, if a horse would stop, you just walk to the other side of the jump, show them the other side of the jump, come back around, and then go.
Yeah. And but zigzagging them back and forth where they can use their peripheral vision, that really helps them. And then, there is a time and a place where either
you get off
or you try to get another horse to go in front of you. So if I have a horse that's really scared, and there's another braver horse, I sometimes will ask, hey, could you go first? If you're on the trail or something, hey, could you go in front of me? And then usually monkey see, monkey do. If the other horse goes, then your horse is like, oh, okay, it's not that big of a deal.
I had Orion take me back today to the barn on the 4-year-old. Yeah. She was on her horse. And I was like, are you done? Because I need to go back and I'll follow. And she just led me back.
And then sometimes, I had a 5-year-old in training. He just left this week. I'm very sad. But anyways, they put in new footing in one of our arenas, and there were all these tire tracks, and I wanted to just go and walk him in there. And he was so scared because it smelled different, and there were these,
and it was whiter,
and it looked weird, and
it's not as brown yet. It's very white, this footing right now.
And he was so scared, and so I zigzagged back and forth. I just walked and turned and walked and turned, and I probably did that for, I don't know, 3-4 minutes, and he was just not gonna go. I just got off him.
Didn't you film me doing that?
With Kensington
at the wash rack down in.
You're right.
Yeah, there's a video of that.
Yeah, you're right. So, anyways, it's boiling hot in here. I think we're both you're sweating because if I'm hot,
I'm sweating.
Then he's definitely hot. Please, please, please come to the webinar. There's no replay. It's going to be this Sunday at 12 noon Pacific time, or Wednesday morning at 8 a.m., or next Thursday at 6 p.m. So if this is a good time for you, come. I've put together a really good presentation where I kind of go through step by step why you want to get your horse round, and then my 4-step process to help you get there with your horse, because it is the hardest thing of riding is figuring out the contact and the connection and how to get your horse round. And if you do it wrong, you end up not having a good time with your horse. If you do it right, you end up having an amazing ride and an amazing horse. So, all right, Cheryl's coming next week. Other thing, if you can invite your friends, if you have any riding friends that want to come, or that from the barn, if you're in 30 days to round and you want to invite your riding friends, it always really helps me out. Word of mouth is the best way. And my mission is dressage for all. So, one last thing. Let me know in the chat if you think we should do a live event in 2025.
Because we're kicking that idea around. And having people in demonstration rides and that sort of a thing. So
I'm dreading the logistics of organizing an event like that. Maybe there's some event planners in our audience that would want to help out. But I do think it would be really fun to meet many of you in person and to do live trainings. And there's some great facilities in my area. And so I think it might be worth it, but we need a year to plan. So if I'm going to do it, it's going to be late next year. And it would be a lot of work. So, all right,
Which
Cindy's
is whatever.
in,
Cindy's in. I mean, but it'll be a lot of
Pamela's
fun.
in. Yeah, so it would be like a live clinic. Like we would have
For
demos.
a weekend?
Herman would teach a lesson.
I would?
Uh-huh.
Yes, I would.
Yes. And maybe I would ride and teach a lesson. Maybe we could bring in some other, I think it would be really cool to bring in some other experts, like some other top riders or professionals in the area. Or I think it would be cool to bring in someone that specializes in like biomechanics. It would be cool to bring in a judge, right? And we could do like a ride test and score it and talk about
why
the judging side of it. We could bring in some entertainment. Now everyone's gonna, yeah.
So these are the things we're thinking about.
When we were in Aachen, it was really fun because they had like quadrilles and driving, and they brought in some different disciplines.
Yeah.
Which I think always, like, horses are just so amazing. It's amazing, like all the things that they can do. So I don't know. I think it would be fun, but we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
I see a lot of votes for.
So yeah,
yes.
Probably, because it would probably be well attended, and then it'd be fine.
Yes. All right. Good night, everyone.
Round rider.
Round